strolling far from home and horizon looking like a sunset dream. Midnight talking, water crashing, evening feeling like a postcard scene. 'Cause it's just us two, dancing with the moon, my arms wrapped around you. Moon is lighting, sea of diamonds, I can tell the difference to your eyes.
G'day guys, I'm Julius and today I'm going to be showing you around my self-converted Mercedes Sprinter camper. So my wife and I built this over a period of about 9 months while we both worked full-time, and then we headed off and did a whole year living in it full-time as we travelled all around Australia. So I first got interested in the idea of van life when I was watching Alex Honnold in Free Solo, living in his van in Yosemite National Park. And then when I was trying to find more info about Alex's van, I stumbled across Alex, the single track sampler on YouTube, who was living full-time in his van with a bunch of mountain bikes under the back of his bed. And I was really inspired, and shortly after that my wife and I bought our first van, which was a Hyundai iLoad. Had a very basic fit out, just a bed and a couple of drawers, and believe it or not, we bought that fitted out because the idea of putting a bed in it was just too much for us. Found that a little bit overwhelming, and anyway, here we are, fast forward a few years, and we've built this one out and done a full lap of Australia. So let's start in the cab and work our way back as I show you around the van. So the van is a 2008 Mercedes Sprinter 518, which is the long wheelbase, high roof, dual wheel version of Mercedes Sprinter van. Has a 4.5 ton GVM, so plenty of load capacity there for our fit out. It's got Mercedes' 3 litre 6-cylinder turbo diesel engine, and the two requirements I had when we were looking for a van was it had to be auto and it had to have cruise control, because when you're traveling Australia, there's quite a few sections of the country where you just spend hours endlessly driving. So they were some nice to haves. So up the front in the cab, there's not a whole heap different to a standard van. We have put a headliner in here, which has got some of our storage, and we fitted a 2-way radio as well. Let's head back and check out the rest of the van. So up the front of the van, we've got our kitchen, and over the cab, we've got that extra storage that I talked about. Up there, we pretty much just kept all our bulky jumpers, trackies, any extra bedding and stuff like that. Then at the front, we've got our kitchen, and we've left it open through here. We've got a little bit of a curtain to divide the space up a bit, but if we needed to, we could climb through to the front if we had to make a speedy escape anywhere. Over a year traveling in this, and we never had to do that, but it's nice to have that option. So up the front, we've got our sink with running hot and cold water, the all essential coffee machine, a couple of power points there as well for running any kitchen appliances, and we've got a couple of USBs there so we could charge cameras and phones and things like that. On the opposite side of the kitchen, we've got a dual burner gas stove, and that folds down so that we get extra bench space when we're not using the stove. Now you'll notice on that side, the van is completely open, and that's because this van had the dual sliding doors, and that really dictated how we designed our kitchen, and we really wanted to make use of that sliding door so that we can open it up and have access to that. We can also shut this one if we need, if we've got sun coming in here, and we can get cool air coming in on that side, and it was such a nice feature to have in the build. Under the sink, we've got all our storage. So top drawer was all our cutlery and utensils. Second drawer was all our pots, pans, plates, chopping boards. And then the third drawer, we had some of our food storage in there, a lot of our herbs and spices, tea. Underneath, we built extra storage into the kicker. So that was mainly cans and jars that we put in there, just a bit of extra food storage. Under this side, under the sink, we've got our garbage and recycling, we've got the coffee grinder, and some extra food storage as well. Under the stove, we've got our 130 litre Bushman's fridge, which was plenty of space to do between 5 and 7 days of food, depending how we planned it out. And there's a little freezer in there as well. It's about 6 litres, I think. Now we also put a diesel heater in the van that is mounted under the passenger seat. And then we've got a vent that comes out in the kicker. Not something that you need a whole heap in Australia, especially when you're chasing the sun, but it's definitely a nice to have on those cold nights. Up on the wall above our splashback is all of our utility controls. So we've got our inverter, we've got a tank gauge here which tells us our grey water and freshwater tank levels. We've got one grey water tank that's about 50 litres and then 3 freshwater tanks totaling about 195 litres of fresh water. And we tested it and we got up to about 7 days really stretching it without ever filling up our tanks. Up there we've also got our solar monitor, which tells us how much charge we're getting from the sun or from the van when we're driving, and it's got our battery percentage as well, so a really nice way to keep track of how our solar system is doing. And then we've also got our instant gas hot water system there, and we can control the temperature anywhere from 35 up to 60 degrees. And then beneath that we've got all our utility switches, so our pump, fridge, the fan for the toilet. As we step back into our hallway, we've got a bench seat here that is a perfect size for me and my wife to sit at. We've got a pull-out table, pulls out nicely. Not the best view looking at the bathroom, but you know, you've got to work with the space that you have. We've got a PowerPoint down there as well, so if we're using a computer here, we could plug that in while we're sitting at the table. Below the bench seat is where all of our solar system stuff is stored. So we've got 2 big batteries there, 200 amp hours of lithium each, so 400 amp hours of lithium. We've got our solar charge controllers, we've got a big 3 kilowatt inverter, and all our fuses and switches and everything are down there for controlling the solar system. And that system has just been so great. We're able to run everything. We're able to run our coffee machine, our Starlink, everything that we needed throughout the whole year. This thing was able to power us without ever needing to plug in. On the wall here, we've got all our light switches. So we've got our internal lights, we've got spotlights outside, we've got lighting under the bench, as well as in the bathroom and for the awning. The other side of the hallway is our bathroom. So quite small and compact, but it was very much a treat to have, and it let us camp in a lot of places that we probably wouldn't have been able to otherwise. A lot of off-grid camps with no toilet and shower facilities. So we've got a shower in here with running hot and cold water. We've got a very efficient shower head that uses less than 5 litres of water per minute. We've got our Nature's Head composting toilet, which is great because there's no smell at all from it, and we get about 5 weeks before we need to change the solids. We've also got this little retractable sliding door. Back here we opted for a full-size queen bed, which has been very nice, have all that space. Now a lot of people decide whether they have to go a fixed bed, which we did, or a bed that you can fold up. And the reason we went for a fixed bed is, well, firstly we've got our mountain bikes stored underneath, but also we did hire a camper van before we bought this, and it had a bed that you could turn into a lounge. And once we made it into a bed on the first night, we never turned it back into a lounge for the whole 2 weeks that we had it. Up above us here, we've got our max fan, which can be set to either blow air in or suck air out. It's also got a rain cover on it, so you can use it when it's raining. This is absolutely essential for keeping the van well ventilated, and we have vents under the door sills as well. So when the fan is on extract, we can suck air in from underneath and circulate it through. On this side, we've got our bedside table, which is also a his and hers wardrobe. And it's probably about a suitcase each worth of clothes that we can fit in there. Up on this end, we've got our little Sirocco fan, create a bit of breeze up in the bed if we needed it. We've got our max fan controls, we've got our lighting and another 2 USBs and a smoke alarm. Let's head around the back and check out the rest of the van. Down here, we've got our water fill point, which lets us fill our 3 freshwater tanks. And then moving along, we've got our gas box, which has got 2 4-kilo gas bottles. We get about 5 to 6 weeks out of 1 gas bottle, and that's cooking and heating water as well. So up to about 3 months on gas before we have to top up. At the back of the van, one of my favourite features of the build, we've got our mountain bikes in here. So we've got a light. So these pull out, giving us easy access to the bikes. So in here, we've got our light switch for the garage light. We've got a 12 volt plug as well if we want to plug anything in there. An Anderson plug as well if we want to run extra solar panels. We can put up to an extra 660 watts of solar out. We never ever had to use that. We've got 600 watts on the roof, and that was more than sufficient. We also have a DC-DC charger, so when the van is driving, it's putting another 600 watts in to charge the batteries. So we never needed the extra plug-in panels, but it was nice to have that feature if we ever did. We've also got a double power point there as well, which was for charging these because they're e-bikes, and we can also plug our Starlink dish in and run that and have internet wherever we are. So the rest of the garage is just used for storage. We've got some of our everyday essentials in there, like our freshwater fill hose, some cleaning products, spare oil, that sort of thing, all our mountain biking gear, helmets, gloves, spare tires and tubes and all that. We've got one of our freshwater tanks in here. So that's about 100 litres there, or 95 litres, and it's got a tap on it. So when our 2 tanks of fresh water underneath are completely empty, we can turn the tap here, and that starts draining that tank into those 2 tanks underneath that we use to pump to our sink and our shower. Moving around the side of the van, we've got our instant gas hot water. We've also got our 240 inlet. So if we ever needed to, we can use the inverter to charge the batteries. So we've got a plug there that lets us plug into the mains grid and charge the batteries. The last stop on the tour is this side access from the other sliding door. So here we've got the back of our fridge with its vents. We've also got access into the cupboard here. So this is where we store some of the stuff that we don't use that frequently. Things like the blender, some spare tools, a lot of our mountain biking, hiking shoes. We've got our extension cable, the camp oven and things like that. So that wraps up the tour. Hope you enjoyed.